Relationship advice speedrun stories. Story 1. My wife's daughter suddenly called me dad and I don't know how to react. I have been married with Rose for 4 years and we dated for 2 before that. Rose has a daughter, Lola. She is 9. Her father, John, is quite present in her life and is a good dad. He lives 2 hours away due to his work, but he spends a lot of time with her during the weekends, holidays. They video chat a lot. He comes to all her school plays, sport events, etc., etc. When I started dating Rose, I didn't know what my relationship with Lola would be. I have had both a stepmother and a stepfather, so I know these kind of relationships can get bad easily, so I tried to do my best. I played with her, listened to her whenever she wanted to talk, helped if she needed help, and I didn't set any rule but made sure she followed Rose's rules. In the past 6 years, we bonded. Something happened yesterday. She aced a math test, the only full score in the whole class. Am I allowed to be proud of her? I will be anyway. I wanted to reward her and she wanted an ice cream, so we went to the ice cream shop. When I gave her the ice cream, she said thank you, Dad, and rushed back in the car. I was stunned. I didn't know how to react. She never called me Dad. She normally called me by my name or nickname. She seemed to not realize she had done it, so I acted normally and brought her back home and we celebrated with Rose. I don't know what I should do if she calls me Dad again. I'm happy about it, don't misunderstand me. I love her as if she was my own daughter, but she already has a father and they love each other a lot, and I think he wouldn't like hearing her call someone else Dad. Should I tell her something? What? Story 2. My wife thinks my D is growing and wants me to do something about it. I've known my wife for about 9 years and we've been married for 7. Lately, when we have she's been complaining that I'm too wide, that I'm wider than I was before. So wide that it hurts when I get in, stretching her out. She also thinks I'm a bit longer than I was before. To me, my D looks pretty much the same as it always has as an adult. I don't take any prescription medications or hormones or steroids. My diet hasn't substantially changed since any of this has come up. I haven't noticed any changes at all myself, but obviously she gets a little closer to it than I do sometimes. And she really thinks I'm like growing and now practically too big for her. These are on occasions when she's fully turned on and warmed up and we use lube, etc. She says there are surgeries to make your D more narrow and has talked about me getting one. The first couple times were kind of jokey and we laughed, but she seems much more serious about it now and has mentioned it several times. I hope you all can understand why I'm not wild about that idea. How do I address this issue without A. taking a knife to my D, and B. acting like I don't care about her discomfort? I do care. How do I make her feel good again? Also, if anyone has any factual info on whether it is even possible for your dick to grow when you are my age, and if such surgeries exist, what they involve, that would also be helpful. My wife has started to think my D is too wide and is actually growing. She wants to talk surgery to change that, but I'm not crazy about that idea. Edit. Just want to emphasize again, as I put in the post from the beginning, that we use lube, understand foreplay and arousal. This isn't a she's not turned on thing. Story 3. My mother-in-law took my gaming console. I'm really annoyed right now and I want her out. My fiance and I have a 6-month-old daughter. And my mill came to visit us and is currently staying with us. She's got 2 more weeks left with us. But I don't know if I can handle it. I'll explain how a typical night routine goes with my fiancé and I after back from work. We hang out together, eat. She goes to bed with the baby and I stay up a few hours finishing my tasks and gaming. My mill usually wakes up at around 12 to 1 to drink tea before going back to bed. During that time, I'm usually online gaming and she despises it. While I was cleaning yesterday, I noticed that my PlayStation was missing and that's when she said that she took it. Because I need to be in bed instead of gaming, okay? I don't go to bed at the same time, so what? That doesn't give her permission to take my stuff in my home. It's not like I wake up late, I make it to work on time. I still spend time with my family when I get back and I'm still taking care of my home. My fiancé is annoyed too. But she's asking me to wait out the 2 weeks so she doesn't get into any issues with her mom. What should I do? Story 4. My fiancé of 4 years doesn't think I'm attractive. Basically the title, but my fiance, who we'll call Dave, was at work and asked me to email him some documents from his laptop which he left at home. I logged on and saw an open conversation between him and his friend Paul, and they had mentioned my name. I was curious and wanted to see what they were talking about. I know I was invading his privacy, but curiosity got the best of me. Paul messaged Dave about how he was more attracted to his wife's looks over personality. I scrolled up and saw Dave had said he was more attracted to my personality than my looks and nearly broke up with me early on in our relationship, but stopped himself because looks weren't important to him. I was devastated when I read those messages, as I had no idea. My fiancé thought I wasn't attractive. I waited for him to come home and told him what I found, and he immediately apologized and started crying and told me he loved me and didn't mean for me to find out. I asked for some space and went to stay with my parents for the past few days. Besides this, Dave and I have never had any issues. A few fights here and there, but nothing we couldn't get past together. Whilst looks aren't the biggest thing, his message made me doubt whether I'd be an idiot going back to him or if I should go the other way. Story 5. My ex sold everything in my app without permission. My ex-boyfriend and I were together for 3 years. During those 3 years, he was very abusive physically, verbally, and emotionally. This past Thursday, we had an altercation to where he found out from my cousin that I was planning to leave. He got heated and things got pretty violent. While he was on the phone with his mom, I grabbed what I could, which were a few of my daughters and I outfits, and left to safety shelter. He got even more upset because I had plans on going grocery shopping that day but didn't, so there was no food in the house. He had no job and was dependent on me for everything. The whole time he began inboxing friends of mine, speaking bad about me because I left him in a house with no food. Sunday morning, he texted and said that he had sold all of my belongings and had let his brother move into my app. I immediately called the police, and when we got there, everything I worked so hard for was gone. I have nothing. My things and my daughter's things are gone. The entire app was empty, and his brother and the brother's girlfriend made themselves really comfortable in my app. OFC, the police said since I left him there, it's nothing they can do because I left him there. But what other steps can I take? Story 6. Relationship problems after discussing threesome. Not sure how to start this, but myself and my partner of 7 years are having relationship issues after discussing making a fantasy of ours real. We have both discussed an MMF threesome for years, and as we are on the same wavelength. However, we recently contacted someone on Reddit who was interested, but I started having major reservations after a couple of days. Initially, I also liked the thought, but I found myself getting jealous and worrying about potential repercussions should we go through with it. His penis is larger than mine and pretty much all that I've seen, which is causing insecurities for me. He is also her type in both looks and style. She was messaging him daily, and I then told her I couldn't go through with it. Her reaction was not good. She accepted it, but has been moody with me for several days now after breaking contact with him at my request. She has asked me several times if she can get back in contact, but I really feel that crossing the line between fantasy and reality would be too painful for me to bear. She has insisted it would be a one-time thing, but when I asked her if she would block him afterward, she refused. Otherwise, our relationship has been perfect for this entire time. We share the same hobbies, we don't argue or fight, and we always agree on major decisions, which is why I thought this shared fantasy of ours could work. However, when trying to make it a reality, I didn't realize the jealousy I would feel would overtake the excitement, and now I have left her with major disappointment. To me, she is the most beautiful woman in both attractiveness and intelligence, which is why I feel I can't risk our relationship, but my earlier enthusiasm has left her confused. I just want to know how we move forward from here, as I don't want to let this issue ruin us after all these years. Story 7. Wedding planning has potentially ended my relationship with fiance. I am planning my wedding, and my fiance has wanted little to nothing to do with planning. We've been together for close to 8 years, and this is his mode to default work to me. Things requiring his input, like the guest list, have caused arguments because I haven't sent invites out and the wedding is a few months away. But he hasn't given me some people's contact information even after I've asked a few times. In the last 3-ish months, and almost no one on the guest list are my invites. Even selecting a venue was such a pain. I researched and contacted at least 50 venues and narrowed it down to 2, and he made such a fuss when I asked him to meet with both to help us make the final decision as a team. Like I was inconveniencing him. He's not talking to me right now because we had an argument about where and when hair and makeup for the bridal party would happen. I had spent a month connecting with hair and makeup professionals to find the right ones for me and work out a timeline that fits in the schedule for the big day. His family called and said we really need to speed up our planning, which caused him to accuse me of being too slow and specifically said I need to book hair and makeup. I told him I already had, but instead of saying okay and moving on, he argued with me and said I didn't do it the right way and I picked the wrong start time and location. I tried assuring him that I knew what I was doing, but he then said I've never planned something successfully and he was just having a civil conversation and I was being defensive, and he walked away and hasn't spoken to me since few days. He wanted the wedding. I would rather pay a judge without any celebration, so his behavior makes me feel terrible and like he doesn't trust me or hear me when I tell him he's causing unnecessary roadblocks to planning or wanting to dictate how it's planned after the fact, even though I've been asking his opinion on everything at every step. He only takes warnings or expressions of concern when someone else brings it up. If I bring up my feelings, they're dismissed as me being immature or desensitive.